Longstreet's men moved toward a hill called Little Round Top. 4 pieces of Union artillery were waiting for them in a place called Devil's Den. The artillery had been dueling with Confederate cannons all day. Now they fired at Longstreet's infantry, but the cannons shot over the soldiers' heads. Longstreet's men surged into Devil's Den. The Union soldiers fled. Longstreet's men continued toward Little Round Top. It was the far edge of the Union line. If they broke through, the Confederates could attack the rest of the Union Army from behind. Union troops led by Colonel Joshua Chamberlain held the hill and fired at the Confederates. When they ran out of ammunition, Chamberlain's soldiers charged with bayonets. Fighting raged until night fell. Confederates took some ground, but the Union line held. Dead and wounded men covered the battlefield. Meade met with his generals at midnight. They agreed to wait for Lee's attack on July 3rd rather than go on the offensive. In the morning, Lee began a massive attack with Longstreet in command. Horses pulled artillery pieces to the Confederate front lines, but many shots flew over the Union's front line. The Union artillery responded, but held back to save ammunition. After almost 2 hours, the thunder of the artillery stopped. Then, more than 11,000 Confederate infantry lined up. Major General George Pickett commanded 3 of the 9 brigades. Their attack came to be known as Pickett's Charge. Pickett's men marched out of the woods 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers from the high ground. As they got closer, they began to run. Shells and bullets tore through their lines. Many Confederates retreated, but some reached the Union lines. Brigadier General Lewis Armistead led men over a stone wall. Union soldiers began to run away, but they soon recovered and fought back. Armistead fell, wounded. So did many others. Some Southerners surrendered, others fled. While Pickett's charge distracted soldiers on the front lines, Confederate cavalry sneaked around the Union line. There they met the Union cavalry. Some members of the Union cavalry carried more advanced rifles called repeaters, which could fire multiple times in a row. The Union cavalry chased off the Confederate cavalry. The remains of Pickett's charge also retreated. The Southerners had lost the battle. But tension between the U.S. government and Southern states had been growing for even longer. In November 1860, Americans elected Abraham Lincoln as U.S. President. However, many citizens in Southern states did not want Lincoln to be president. Lincoln wanted to outlaw slavery in new U.S. territories. Southerners tended to think people in the territories should decide whether to allow slavery. As a result, Southern states began to leave the United States or Union. They formed the Confederate States of America. Then in April 1861, Confederate artillery attacked Fort Sumter, a Union fort. The Civil War began. At first, the war was fought in the South. Then, in 1862, Confederate General Robert E. Lee invaded the North. He hoped a big win on Union soil could end the war. But Lee's forces were stopped in Maryland at the Battle of Antietam, and they returned to Virginia. In 1863, after winning 2 major battles in the South, Lee tried going north again. Lee's army plunged into Pennsylvania. The Union Army raced to protect Washington, D.C. and other major cities. On June 30, 1863, Confederates came across Union soldiers near Gettysburg. Both armies began to move. Lee prepared for battle near a city west of the town. Union Major General George Meade planned to defend a position to the south. Union Brigadier General John Buford posted his cavalry around Gettysburg. Both armies' plans changed when the conflict began early the next morning. A few miles west of Gettysburg, Buford's soldiers began shooting at Confederate figures in the shadows. The Union cavalry were outnumbered, but they held off their opponents until Union infantry arrived. A long fight followed. Finally, the Confederates drove the Union soldiers back through Gettysburg. Those who made it through gathered on Cemetery Hill, south of town. There the rest of the Union Army began to gather.